Right, so here it is. The most frustrating club in the bag for me at the moment, and probably for you if you're watching this video. So I'm gonna hit a shot, and I'm gonna tell you about my frustration with driver. So I'm gonna set myself up, put my swing on it, and it's in play. It's a little bit out the heel, low points behind, club's travelled up, 240 carry and 261 total. Now I know what you're thinking, what are you upset about with that? Well, the club head speed at 105 mile an hour is just over 10 mile an hour slower than I was this time last year. And even though I would say I'm over my injury, back in the gym, doing some work, not seeing the speed, and yet loads of people telling me, well, that'll happen, you're getting older, but I don't believe that. I think if I get the best out of my swing, if not 115 at the moment, I still should be getting over 110, which would certainly start getting me a bit closer to 260 carry, and maybe a bit closer, if not over 300 yards total. So I'm very fortunate. I've got Swing Catalyst. It's going to show me how I move against the ground. Let's have a look at my swing, see where I'm losing that bit of power, and that just might help you with what I work on, pick up some speed and some extra distance with your driver. Okay, so we can see it addressed. The ball's nicely forward in my stance. I've got slightly more pressure on my left foot than my right foot. So everything looking pretty decent at address. Now, as I move the club away, everything looks pretty good. Weight, pressure shifts towards my back foot nice and early. And I can see this graph here, pressure's building in my right foot, pushing that way to stop me sway. So my right hip's turning behind me. And this top graph shows how my side-to-side movement against the floor. And the peak is as the club changes direction, so that's absolutely fantastic for me. As I move down, I start twisting against the floor, and that's the yellow graph, and again, that's in the right place. And then I move down towards impact. The blue curve, which is me pushing down into the ground, that's my peak at 159% of my body weight, and it's just about in the right place. But that's certainly a lot lower than I usually am. I usually like to see perhaps even up towards 200%. And as a result of that, not really pushing hard into the ground. Therefore, everything's pretty decent at impact, but there's just not enough energy getting through my body and into the club. Okay, so you could see the three ways that I was generating my speed was the side-to-side movement, the kind of twisting into the ground, twisting on the way back, twisting on the way down, and then pushing into the ground. Now for me, normally with driver, the push, the blue curve, is my highest. And yet we saw there, it was actually the yellow curve which was the highest. So I definitely need to work on that. And the way I need to work on it is that backswing's pretty much as normal. I start moving that way to get the club to change direction. I know my twist's pretty good, but I've got to feel like I kind of straighten that left leg more aggressively and a little bit earlier. And even for me, feeling like get a little bit jump off the ground, but jump back and away from the golf ball. So a little bit like you see the long drive guys do and Bubba Watson. By no means am I in their league, like to be, but that's definitely something I could do a little bit better. So get that little feel of that jump back. Okay, so straight away, I think, don't know whether you can hear the sound there, that definitely sounds different through the bottom. So hopefully that will translate into a little bit more club head speed. So initially with this, I'm not going to worry where this goes because that one was actually good and would have been straight down the middle. But I want to build the speed and then get a little bit of control. So let's go. Think about that little jump for me. And we can see straight away there, a little pickup, 106.3, a little bit out the toe, but low point suddenly moved 6.6 inches behind. Clubs travelled up 4.8 degrees and the carry suddenly jumps to 255 and 283 total. Now before we look at swing catalyst there, the big difference was, yes, nearly 1.5 mile an hour club head speed, but suddenly the low point of the golf swing was further behind, got me hitting up more, launching a little bit higher and spinning a bit less. Now I know I've not put those numbers on there because I didn't want too much on. But that, I'm going to have another couple of goes before we look at any swing catalyst stuff. But that was better straight away, a little bit more speed in there. Okay, let's go again. So not a great strike, but big jump in club head speed. So 109.4. Low point way behind again. Again, hitting up 5 degrees. And even with a really poor strike and direction was poor, getting out there distance-wise. And I'm a big believer from having done kind of speed stick work and things like that. If you can kind of prime your nervous system to getting used to moving quicker, even then when I don't do the little jump, I'll see quicker than 105. But I did say that I wanted to try and get over 110. So we got to 109.5 there. So let's go again. Jump early. See if we can get that club head speed ramping up. So 108. Again, a little low on the face. I've hit up a little bit more there. But 265 carry and 282 total. Definitely felt like I just kind of tightened up a little bit of impact there. So let's do another practice swing. That feels quick. See if I can translate that when the ball's there. So definitely strike-wise not quite there. But again, 109.5, 8 inches behind, nearly 6 degrees up, 269 carry, and 288 total. So a big pickup in speed. The little toey strikes help that get one back on target, but we can see a huge pickup in carry, huge pickup in total. So let's look at swing catalyst there and see if I did the movement as well as I think I did, because feedback's really, really important. Okay, so very, very similar address. Now, as we move away, definitely building less pressure on that right-hand side. And not shifted as well as aggressively to the side, but we see a much bigger twist into the ground and a much earlier twist into the ground. And then instead of 159% body weight, we actually get to 184, but that's a little bit late. But even there, that's earlier than before, at nearly 180, so 179% body weight. And when you've got as much body weight as me, that's got to help. So only in kind of 4 or 5 swings there, big pickup, not doing it quite as well as I'd like, but then the key is as long as I've got that feeling, and I know many of you guys won't have access to this kind of yourselves, but if you do get along to somebody with a swing catalyst, can really give you some great insight into how you can get more speed and control out of your golf swing without necessarily having to change a huge amount. Now, I definitely think if I was taking that to the golf course though, I'd probably have my practice swing feeling like that. And then feel that I don't have the jump, but just trust the fact that because I've moved a little quicker in the practice swing, that we see a nice pickup with my stock swing, now at nearly 108 mile an hour. We see 3.1 inches behind, clubs travelled up 2 degrees, carry at 253, and total at 270. So we can see even the one that feels more controlled is still quicker, because when you get your body used to moving faster and start using the ground more efficiently in the best way possible for you, you can instantly pick up some speed. I'm not quite back to where I was this time last year, but hopefully we're going to work on this for another 30 days and see if we can get a new personal best with the target being 116 miles an hour.